Well, good evening, good evening. Hello, everyone. Hurricane H here, and you're watching the iHealth channel and live on the radio at iHealth Radio. Today is a new series, a talk show series, and it is Sales World. Sales World, excellent. Yeah, we've done the first session about a couple of weeks ago, about 10 days ago. This is actually the number 2, the follow-up on the series. So it's a new edition, a new episode. And today we're going to be talking specifically on prospecting and canvassing in sales. Now, initially when we discussed Sales World, and specifically the title was World of Sales, and just an introduction to sales in general, and what sales are, is, and how they're perceived, how salespeople are perceived, and just a general introduction to about sales, which is a very large topic. And again, as I had said the last time, we do sales every day. Everybody's selling everybody. If there are, if there's a transaction between two parties, there is an actual sales transaction that happened, and everybody has some sort of a pitch that they make on a day-to-day basis, whether they want to get something, from somebody, from a service, a provider, individual, family member. They do sell. Everybody's selling. Of course, not everybody is using sales as a means of, making ends meet or making, an income. However, we do sales transactions all the time. And, in the business world, sales is a vital organ. It's a mandatory, piece of the process. And if you're in business, as it says, in a lot of, documents and books and a lot of lectures, if you're in the business, you are in the sales, environment. If you're in business, you're in sales. So you cannot really have a business without a sales transaction opportunity, without somebody or something that actually generates, business revenue and transactions for you. So that being said, the main purpose of today is really to take it to the next stage. So we talked the last time a little bit about, preparation and how you have to be ready before you actually become, before you go and get into the sales world out there and try to get your business. And depending on what business you're in, sales pretty much is kind of standard, processes that you have to follow. So the science behind it, the methodology is very similar, and even if it varies between whether you're selling to an individual, to a company, to an executive, to an actual business, door to door, whatever the case may be, there are different types of sales, but they all have very similar processes and steps that you have to undergo. And the first one obviously is understanding your business and knowledge and so on and so forth, to be clear about what your business content is. So you need to know your product. You need to know your service area. You need to know your audiences. Do your homework. Find out by zip code. Age groups, income groups, whatever the case may be. So this way, when you're out there, and we'll deep dive on that as well in a minute. But those are the main things for you to actually get started, right? So you pick an industry. You're in sales. You love to do that. You're a person that loves to interact with people. You can talk to people. You're not shy, timid, and you select sales. And a lot of people start in sales because a lot of jobs are there's more jobs in sales than other technical jobs, because you might not have a particular skill, you might not even have the education, but you might have the personable approach and the skill to actually just pitch and talk, and many people succeed at that, and so therefore we choose to be in sales. That's great, and we love that. And anyone that is my peeps in sales, we know one thing: we love what we do, and we cannot do anything else. We can do other things, but we love what we're doing. That we're not going to do anything else. We focus on sales because we enjoy it. It's an opportunity to mingle and network and talk to people, and just like I said the last time, we use, basic things that, we're being given, and we use on a day-to-day basis just in vain, which is basically chit-chatting, talking about anything and everything. So by choosing the sales, field, by choosing the sales world, by choosing the sales career path, we just basically apply those skills that we have, that we use in the normal life, and turn them into an opportunity to make income or revenue and compensation. And also at the same time, we use them to help educate as well as assist other people getting the product services that they might need in their life, day-to-day life. So that being said, so we have sales, we're in it, we're great, we love it, we're, we selected a job, we got hired, into a particular world. Now, we will stick to the healthcare, and the health insurance world. That's this, whole idea behind iHealth Radio and the iHealth channel. But we might be able to touch on some, because this is more technical and we're going to talk about sales in general. So there may be times where I give some examples about different types of sales. Now, personally, I've done all kinds of sales, of course, legal sales, and just to make a little fun about that one. But the fact is, I've done retail, I've done timeshare sales, I've done real estate sales, I've done medical sales to a degree. I've obviously done insurance sales and all kinds of insurance sales, and then also gone from field agent to actually management, leadership and sales. But also I've done telesales and telemarketing back in the days, door-to-door, business to business, all those things, provider sales. So I've done a lot of those things in the last 25 plus years. And even when I started as a tour guide back in the first job I had, which is with my super boss Mickey Mouse, that was actually an interesting job. But while it was not selling a product, but it was selling information, knowledge, and historical data, if you want to call it that way, and cultural data, if you want to call it that, because I did actually do presentations at schools, at businesses, and different networking opportunities about cultural stuff, specifically about Morocco, but also I've done other pitches and presentations within the Disney World, while I was working there. Now, that just being said, a lot of diversified angles and diversified type of industries, but at the end of the day, they all kind of work, and even travel sales, because I was actually in a travel agency when I first came to New York. So all these things actually kind of like the same. You have a customer, you have a product or service, and you want to basically convey the message to them and convince them to actually be able to purchase that particular service or product. But before you do this, you need to find those customers. First, you need to know your business well enough that you actually can talk about it. Second of all, you need to know your territory. As I said, you need to know your audience, who they are, where they are, what they do, where can you get them, and so on and so forth. And ultimately, when you're in front of them, then you have to build, the trust factor and so on and so forth. And you go through the processes and the steps for a sales transaction until the end where you can actually get a close. And then it doesn't end there, there's beyond that, right? Now, we'll talk about all those steps in details, and then, today, maybe some of it today and the rest of it in the future sessions and episodes. So now we're in sales, we're out there, we know our business, we got our trainings, we know everything we need to know about product. So if we're talking about insurance sales, or, in my case specifically, Medicare sales, and so we know our Medicare 101s, ABCs, we know the Part A, the B, the C, the D, anything that interact, provider marketing, the whole nine, the regs, regulations, we got certified, as brokers, but what's next? So great, and I see this all the time in interviews when we hire people, at least we're in the process of hiring people, we usually ask questions to get to know, the candidates, and, you ask the question like, well, so this is what the job is, this is what the position will be, this is your audience, where would you go? And sometimes you get just like silence. People just look at you like, or they just scramble to try to get an answer, but they're not really sure. All that's very obvious. If I tell you our audience is the senior market primarily, and anyone with a Medicare card, well, you know that our age group can be the 65 and over, or anyone with disability over 24 months that has the actual red, white, blue card, which is a Medicare card. So that's just an example. And another example, or another industry, for example, real estate, well, everybody can be actually a customer in real estate, because they're either selling a house, buying a house, or wanting to rent a house or leasing a house. So in essence, depending on what the property value, the location, whatever, but there is an actual customer for every opportunity, an opportunity for every customer that you might have. So you just have to match, make a nice match, between those two entities. So again, businesses wise, whether it varies from real estate to insurance, at the end of the day, you need to know your audience and you need to know where to find them. So if we focus just on the insurance world, at least in the Medicare space, well, you're going to meet with individuals. You're not signing policies, although there are policies that, sometimes you can approach Medicare sales in a group format, in a wholesale, prospective opportunity. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And that's just a strategy. And there will be sessions where we'll talk about tactics and strategy and all that stuff, and how we can navigate and get more business, for a buck if you want to call it, or opportunities to get us really a good audience and a wholesale opportunity. So we'll talk about that. But now, you are in the job, you're clear to sell, you're ready to sell, you're deployed, you got an assignment. Okay, now you have a target, because in sales you always have a target. We talked about goals and the importance of goals and setting goals, and we're going to talk about that as we develop this particular session here. And so when you're out there, what's next? You step out there and, you just kind of like scramble. A lot of people, choke when they first are deployed in the communities, and they just given a task. Okay, you have a target of maybe 20 enrollments a month, and, you need to basically enroll 20 members into our plan, or any plans that you might be selling in case of a broker. So now what? You have to go find them. And it's easy to say that I can sell because I can pitch, but, again, having, the next step between pitching and finding the clients, and then ultimately find the client and be able to pitch them directly, can be something else. So where would we go first? I mean, there are a lot of opportunities out there, obviously in the senior world, and even for members or consumers that may be watching this series, while this is, on the sales and the professional side of it, you would be also able to learn a little bit of how it all, works from the perspective or the eyes of the actual agents that are out there in the community to help you. So first you go out there, and, if you go blindsided and you don't know where you're going, you're just going to try to, possibly figure out, an audience. The first thing a lot of agents do, they try to scramble and get leads. And sometimes that's what they ask for when they come to a company. Oh, are you going to give me leads? How many leads do you give me a month? How's that going to work? Blah, blah, blah. Am I going to be assigned territory? Well, in sales, you have to seek opportunity, right? And, leads are great. And, you might get leads, and some leads can be qualified, good, and some leads may not be. But the best way to actually really survive in sales is not if you're just going to be handed the business or potential leads, because those leads may pan out. I mean, some of them, you may get 10, referrals or lead cards or lead, opportunities, but you might have, when you call and follow up with these folks, they might not all be qualified, because the source of the lead may just ask for something specific that person may have, or maybe it's just somebody that asked, a question on some sort of survey that had to do with Medicare, and it's collected and it's submitted to you that way, and then you get it, and then what's next? You call in, you're disappointed. The person's like, well, I'm just calling for information. I don't need to talk to any agent. I got insurance. I'm good. What happens? Oops, you're like, now you're like panicking, because your pressure, your management is going to start, asking questions, what you do and stuff. And, a lot of managers will ask you about your plan of action, your work week, how are you planning your days? All those things are going to be, pressures that you will have. So again, doing this, as we said the last time, smart and hard, not so hard, but more smart, is important. So that balance. So the key here is you have an idea, you know what your audience is. So first you have to be prepared, right? So the 5 P's, as I said the last time, prior planning prevents poor performance. So looking at your territory, your audiences, where does my audience, attend? Where do they go? Well, if you really think about it, I mean, these are regular people. Just because they have, an age of 65 and over, they're pretty much everywhere. I mean, there are people shopping all the time. People are all over the streets. They go to providers, they go to the movies, they go to Dunkin' Donuts, they go, whatever they you're out there, people are out there. And the age doesn't matter, what they are. As a matter of fact, there are places where they're specific to certain, age groups, because they hang out there and they socialize. And that could be a good opportunity, but you have to work that. So the key here is you want to be able to, build a plan, a strategy, a tactic, and then you work from that point on and you deploy it. And it has to be diversified. You cannot just, again, put all your eggs in one basket. You have to be able to have multiple sources that will feed you. Centers of influences, a success formula overall that will deliver, the goods to you, that will deliver the opportunity and exposes you and puts you in front of as many potential, prospects as possible. Because at the end of the day, in sales, it's a number game. The more people you present to, the more people you talk to, the more you will actually close and be able to enroll people into, the plans or close them to sell your product. So it's a number game. The more, it's usually 10, 3, 1. You talk to 10, 3 are interested, 1 closes. That's just the general formula, but it works in a lot of areas. So now we kind of know what the audience is, and we have to go out there and get them. But prospecting is the key. And prospecting doesn't happen over the phone. Back in the days, you used to pick up the phone, get the white pages, yellow pages. If you're dealing with businesses, you can call the businesses. If you're dealing with individuals, you can go down the list and just call in the numbers. And, I used to joke about this back in the days where, people, when I interviewed people as candidates, I asked them, do you like telemarketers? They say no. It's like, well, welcome to the club. You're going to become one. And they're looking like, oh man, I didn't think about that. Well, that's exactly right. Because back in the days, part of your sales, you have days at the office, and you basically call days or call nights, and you basically start dialing, and you get, it's called calling. There's limitations when you can do this. You can obviously do certain hours, and people get annoyed, and the reaction is usually people clicking on the phone, and it's a very difficult task. And so that actually went away, with regulations with CMS, at least for the Medicare side. They had restrictions, so you cannot, there's no unsolicited contact, so you cannot really cold call unless somebody actually opts in and gives us permission to contact. We cannot talk to them. But in general sales, not necessarily in the Medicare sales, that's still an option. Some other businesses may be able to actually call and just cold call folks. And now we have the whole trend of robocalls, and they actually can be very annoying. People call you, they don't even talk to you. It's just a number, it dials in, you talk, and there's like a pause, and they kind of gauge you, and it's very actually smart, but it's also kind of like very annoying. But anyways, as an individual, you're actually going out there and you need to be planning your stuff. You want to be able to prospect and find these folks. And doing it in the phone is not going to work. For the most part, you get, 9 out of 10, they're going to get hang up. People curse you, whatever the case may be. It's not the most effective. But if you're lucky, you get that one potential appointment, you go to them, great. And then now it's a 50-50 shot at closing them based on your skills and ability to really deliver, the pitch and ultimately close. So that's that. But now, what else? What can you do in terms of, at least in the Medicare sales, for those that are, pursuing this particular path in the health insurance in the broker world? Where again, you can be a Medicare, you can be a commercial rep, selling small groups, large groups, business, different opportunities. Those are all variations, but at the end of the day, it's really finding that particular contact. So that's more of a wholesale opportunity, but for a one-on-one opportunity to find candidates one at a time, because a lot of these, enrollments are individual and not in the package. Back in the days, for example, when I used to also, sell the Child Help Plus programs, which is the state programs for the children. You don't sign the children. You enroll them, but you actually interact with the parents. But you got a family of 5, 6 kids, 7 kids, some families get more than that. That's a wholesale opportunity. You do 3 families of that, and your week is set, right? So it was pretty good, and it all depends. And you're not really selling them, you're helping them find the right coverage, you're helping them get healthy and stay healthy and grow in a healthy way. So again, that was back in the days, but at the end of the day, that's just an example to show you, or at least to share with you, the opportunity of a wholesale concept. But you can do wholesale concept in a lot of sales settings, whereby you do seminars or presentations, and you basically have an audience, and you have to promote these spaces and these opportunities in advance, and people come in. Now, of course, we're going to talk about we have a series that is called Regulate and Legislate, and that will be, or Legislate and Regulate, that will be actually specific to regulations and marketing and legislation that affects the healthcare industry in general. But in the sales world in general, so whether it's regulated through the CMS or through other entity, there's regulation and agencies from the federal government and states for all different types of sales, or at least industries. And then within the sales department, there's rules and regulations everybody has to follow. So now, if you want to do a wholesale opportunity, that's one. And you can do these presentations, and if it's not for everyone. There are people that may not be able to present to a group, the large groups. And there are people that actually have to find themselves in it, and they have the personality. They can just stand there, talk, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, they're actually doing a good presentation. Everybody's happy, and they get a nice little, a response. A lot of people are interested, and they can follow up with these particular interested prospects, ultimately meet them either in the spot later on at their, homes, as a home visit or a, in the kitchen table type of opportunity, or they could meet them somewhere else. But the idea is if they present to a larger group, their chances and the odds are higher, right? So that makes sense. But again, even that's just the concept. We all can say, well, we know about that, but how do you go about it? So if in the event of a senior market, where would you go? Well, senior centers is a good place, right? So, there are friendship clubs, there are senior centers, there's different, adult daycares, so there's always regulations on how to approach these places and where you can do, when you cannot do. And again, in the other series, we'll talk more about those regulations and specifically to the marketing do's and don'ts and the guidelines, and we'll break that down to a science, and everybody will be able to understand what you can, what you cannot do. And also from consumer side, you would know more or less what people can do, and cannot do. So maybe that help you also gauge, the opportunity. Now, this is not an opportunity when I'm sharing this information, whether you're a consumer or a professional, is really a healthy balance. If you have an interest, then let the interest be there, and don't block it. Don't stop yourself from being exposed to information that may be beneficial to you as a consumer. On the flip side, if you are a professional in the industry and you want to actually get audiences, well, guess what? You should be able to actually go out there and meet the people and do the right thing by them and help it. And know that you're not going to enroll everybody. I mean, that is a very rare case where everybody is always going to sign up for your products. But if you have all the offerings that make sense, if you actually do your due diligence and do the process, and we'll break that down to science from today on, and you'll be able to actually determine who's what where and help them exactly identify their needs and put them in the right product. They'll be happy, you'll be happy, and everybody's happy. Companies are happy, the government are happy, because if we talked about managed care organizations and how that works and how it helps, the funding, of these institutions, and basically how the government also controls their costs. So again, I don't want to deviate from the conversation here, but we're focusing more on sales and strategy. But now really the focus is prospecting, canvassing, and we're talking about where you're going to find your customers or prospects. Okay, so they're not your customers yet, they're prospects or prospective customers. They become your customers. We actually, either sell them a product or possibly, enroll them in a particular membership. In our case, it's memberships. So the end of the day is you got to find them. So there are a lot of places. If they are actually healthy and they're walking around, they're going to be everywhere. They're going to be in the movies, they're going to be in the malls, they're going to be in cafeterias, they're going to be in the streets, walking, shopping, supermarkets. Supermarkets have senior days. So, and if you're a senior, you probably have seen, agents all over the place, especially in the metropolitan areas. You have them, even Walmarts, during the annual election period, you have these booths in Walmart settings where you can walk in and you have an agent booth where you can talk, just like they have in tax season a tax representative, someone that can do your CPA type, that can do your taxes. Same concept. So agencies and agents typically, and health insurers, they have these arrangements with facilities that can, help, situate these agents in these locations. So hopefully they can interact with prospective customers or members and be able to connect with them, share with them the prospective products, and ultimately follow up in with some sort of a presentation. And of course, if everything works out, everybody is walking happy, the members or the customers get their products and services, and the sales agent and salespersons get their business. But at the end, again, prospecting is actually key, because that's how you flourish. That's how you make money. That's how you grow. That's how you actually produce. That's how you actually keep and maintain your job. Because again, as a salesperson, you're always going to be given a target, a quota. We don't refer to it as much as quota any longer, but it is still a target, an expectation that you have to meet month after month. Because again, those expectations are attached to budgets, as I talked about when we talked on the MCO World series. These health plans have projections in enrollments, the growth and stuff, while they want to provide the best care. here, they cannot survive without making these enrollments happen, because they're not going to be able to meet, their budget and financial needs, and therefore, things happen, and they'll take away some benefits, and therefore the members are not happy, and it's a very, very retroactive type of effect that actually becomes this snowball effect, and then ultimately it doesn't benefit anyone. But it starts with us in the sales end. We get hired for one job only as special agents to go out there and identify customers and members that will bring into the roles of our products and agencies or insurers or carriers. And then when they enroll, basically we did our job, and then we move on. And in sales, it's every day. It doesn't stop. It's not like, okay, I had a great day tomorrow, I'm just going to go sleep. It doesn't work that way. You have to constantly work, and build the next business. And, the smart part about it is that you want to work where you can generate enough referral sources that you don't have to really go always crazy. So initially, it's going to be hard because you have to go out there every day. You have to knock on doors. So business to business, some means you have to work with businesses, and that means you can go to an actual, and businesses can be, real businesses like, supermarkets and pharmacies and so on, although pharmacies can fall into the provider network type, but really it's still a business. And, supermarkets are businesses, but then also there are community agencies, right? Senior centers can be, those, churches, FBOs, or faith-based organizations can be another opportunity, and again, you can literally prospect where you play and where you pray, and, whatever you are. As a matter of fact, if you're a salesperson, and I sell this in trainings all the time, you don't stop selling. I mean, there is always be, closing. That's ABC. I say also always be selling, ABS. So you're always going to be able to actually do your job out there and make sure that actually people see, that interact with you. You have to be out there. And every time you're out there, people need to know what you do for a living, because in sales, people need to know you're a salesperson. Don't be shy. Don't be, don't be like, oh, I'm afraid if I told people I'm a salesperson, they're going to look me the wrong way. There's nothing wrong. You're doing a job that is needed. It's vital. All organizations live, with a sales component. Sales is like, the heartbeat. Okay, it's the heart organ of any company. If they stop, there is no more cardio. The body dies. All right, it's the same concept, or at least the analogy. So you have to be out there. So be proud, and of course, follow the rules, do the right thing, and help people, and not just because you want to make a commission or you want to get, your job done because somebody's going to tell you get your numbers and you have a quota or a target or an expectation a month, but because you're doing the right thing. And if you did that concept, you never have to worry. How many people I'm going to help today? And that's the only target you have. And as you help more people, you're helping yourself, you're helping the company, you're helping the whole system. And that's kind of key. But the main thing is you're prospecting. You need to have more customers, and it's like, you're buying food, right? You have to, have an actual pantry of stuff that is always there. I mean, case in point these days, the supermarkets, shelves are getting empty because of the coronavirus. People are actually stocking up. A lot of, fear. Schools are closing up. People are staying home, and they need to have supplies. Well, our supplies and sale is a very, continuous role of prospective customers. You have to keep going out there and finding another opportunity day in, day out, or generate enough resources and sources that will actually give you the referral base going forward. And ultimately, when you have enough membership and customer base, those are your best actually referral sources, because no one can actually give you more referrals other than a happy customer and a happy member. So, and we'll talk about that when we'll get to the close and beyond, the ending of the close of the sale. But the idea is you want to create those opportunities. So again, in the community, grassroots marketing. Grassroots includes everything under the actual street, world. You walk in, you can walk into buildings. Now, we don't do solicited contact. When I say go into buildings, you're going to the actual building management. You actually maybe, they have a community room. You set up an event with them. You actually have an opportunity, an agreement, and approval to come and do a presentation. That's how you do it. And again, when we talk about the do's and the don'ts, we'll specifically discuss all these opportunities, and then how you can make them the right way, the legitimate way, the CMS compliant way, and you can get this. And some of these things may not apply to all types of sales, because we are highly and heavily regulated under this particular industry. But in sales in general, you always want to ask permission. You just don't want to walk in there, because people don't like that. So even if you're selling, I don't care, whatever you're selling, if you're going to go into a place, ask permission from management, ask for the opportunity to actually present the actual opportunity, make them understand what your value is, and they will be more than happy to open the door for you. But if you just go in, or like some people sneak in and try to do something and you get caught and they just basically reject you from the building, and maybe they call your company, your management is not happy, your company is not happy, doesn't work. Even like I said, even in a different setting from Medicare, it is not going to work. So the best way to do this is to be out there and do it right and do it by the book. So if you go to an actual, type of housing, then you want to talk to the actual management, office and see what they can do for you. You go to senior center, you want to work with the director of the senior center and help them. I mean, you as an agent, at least in the Medicare world, you have a support team, you have an events team, you have also, budgets for some events, opportunities. So you can sponsor opportunities, presentations, breakfasts, seminars, or just activities for the senior centers. And ultimately, there are different types of events that you can create in those opportunities, and we'll talk about them when we do, again, regulations and marketing. And so when we talk about that, we'll talk more in details. But if you have the opportunity to get in front of a large audience at a senior center, you might not be able to sign up people as a wholesale, but you'll be able to present to everybody that's there. And the more frequently you go back, the more potential customers that you might have, or potential members. So that's just one example. Now you can also go. And a lot of companies provide now, these kind of vehicles or recreational vehicles like the RVs that people use for vacation. There are mobile units or community outreach vehicles that you can they park in the streets, especially in the metropolitan areas. And, people are kind of basically approach on the sidewalk. There's regulation about how to do it, but people walk into these vehicles, they can ask for information, they can ask about the products and things like that, and then they get assistance and sometimes even enroll on the spot in those facilities. They're basically mobile offices. Sometimes also tabletop marketing, which is a very simple. You ask permission to set up a table, professionally, the right way, in a corner of a space, by a store, by a pharmacy, whatever the case may be, where you get your opportunity at a supermarket, and then you'll be able to actually present your goods and your services to the folks that are walking by. And the other thing is, most of the people think, because we're talking here Medicare sales, you might think that everybody that you want to sign up, or the only people you're going to talk to are the seniors or people who are potentially looking in the senior category. No, as a matter of fact, everyone has somebody that knows somebody that has Medicare. Okay, so it's not your parents, it's your grandparents, it's your neighbors, your auntie, your uncle. So there's always somebody. It's the caregivers. Somebody knows somebody. So the idea is you're not actually going straight to actually identify only those people that you think are qualified for Medicare. No, you're actually talking to everybody and tell them, hey, listen, if you know someone that actually can use our services, we are in the community, this is what we do, and you help them that way, please have them call me. Here's my card. And you can also, if they want to follow up, you can make them sign what we call permission to contact or scope of appointment type documentation, and they'll give you an opportunity to meet with them at a later time. That's fine. But if it's not there, the immediate people that are actually going to qualify, they might know someone. I'm walking the street, I might be approached. My mom is of Medicare age. Guess what? I'm going to be asking the questions. And I will be the one really understanding, what those things before I even bring them in front of my mother, right? So the concept is everybody can be a prospect, to you. And if they're not actually, directly impacting with a member or prospect, well, they might be working at a location that may have an opportunity. So again, you got to look broader. You got to look further than just, a narrow, tunnel vision type. You got to see the whole opportunity. Go beyond, it doesn't stop there. So see opportunity in everything. So I've seen this happen all the time. We're an event, people stand behind a table and they expect that they talk to everybody, but yet there's agencies that are sitting next to us in the same event, and those agencies actually do have direct contact with abilities and opportunities for seniors, for example, in our market, and in other product, if that for that matter. And so all you have to do is walk with talk to these people, mingle, network, and maybe they will open the door for you. Social services are great opportunities because they're always looking to help people get the best care and the best products for themselves. For their clients. And sometimes even for themselves, because some of these folks may qualify. And so that's an opportunity. But the idea is when you're canvassing prospecting, everything is an opportunity. don't limit yourselves as what you would choose and what you would look for and not for. If you actually are having lunch and dinner and you're talking, you see an opportunity, hey, it's no big deal. You can hand a card. We get cards for a reason. Business cards are there for you. Just give them out. Now, it may cost you, but at the end of the day, it's an opportunity. People need to know what you do, who you are. There's no shame in this game. Once you're in sales, you're in sales. You need to be proud, and you're not, lying to people. You actually have a good service. You have to believe also, right? And if you believe in what you do and you believe you're helping people, well, guess what? How many people want to help again? That's the same, definition you have to keep in your mind. How many people I have to help today? How many people I'm going to help today? Satisfaction is in there. Not so much in the commission check. Yes, the check is great, but you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing by people. And you want that message to go to everyone. So anyone that you meet, you're the best thing that happened to them that day. That's kind of like the analogy, or at least the thought that you should have in your mind. And if you use that as your concept, you will succeed. If you use that as your concept, people are not going to see you as a one of those shady guys. They're going to see it as you're really genuine. You're actually true. You are the real thing, and they will actually take your advice and they'll listen to you. Now, there are no guarantees they're going to enroll. There are no guarantees that they're going to stuff. And sometimes you don't even want to enroll them because you're not going to be able to help them with your products, at least your offerings at the time. But what happens if you do talk to them, and we'll talk more in details, and you do the right thing by them, even by not enrolling them? That is actually a pointer for you, not against you, because now they know that if they have ever in need for someone, guess what? They're going to go back to you because you are honest, you are straight, you are good. And if they want the right advice, they're going to come to you, not somebody that actually, did not give them the right facts or cut corners here and there to give them just a picture that he or she wanted to actually deliver. No, you give them the whole scope. And zone into to the core for them based on their needs, and they'll be happy and they'll appreciate you more. And that's it. That's true salesmanship. Now, I've had this before, and I do this in trainings all the time. We've joked the last time about how we are the second most hated people on the planet in sales. Well, that's because there are elements in the sales world in general that actually do these tactics, and they try to cut corners because of the pressure, because they want to get a commission. Some businesses even stop commissions just to avoid this stuff, right? But the idea is they actually leave a bad taste, and it's kind of like one apple, right? And we don't want that. We want to be, promoting the best, behavior out there. Legal, ethical, do the right thing by people. Imagine those are the same folks that your family. So that's your mom, your father, your grandma, your auntie, your uncle. That's who you're dealing with. And their lives are actually going to be affected with decision and that you're going to help them make. So be careful, especially, again, I focus more in the health insurance, type of settings and sales. But even when I did real estate, we had to make sure that these people get the right thing. You don't want to lie about a foundation crack, because in their problem, they're going to have issues. If there's some sort of the HVAC unit is broken and you tell them it's good, that's not ethical, right? And there's, in all these types of sales, there's what we call in the licensing process, there's a continuing education process. And usually it's every 2 years. A lot of these classes are specifically focusing on ethics, because ethics in sales in general are one of the major problems that people, kind of face, because people do things and cut corners that is not the right way. So from this forum to you, if you ever listen to this particular pitch, know this: ethically, legally, do the right thing. You will never fail as a salesperson. If you do it any otherwise, you will actually lose the trust factor, credibility. People will not like you, and you can build a whole empire and it can be destroyed if people start looking at you the wrong way and spread the word about you. If you're going to stay in an industry, that's even worse, because if you're in an industry, it's a brand name you created. And if you do it right, it stays with you. If you do it wrong, it's going to go with you. And so the equation does not really go to your favor if you did that way. So again, going back to the focus here on prospecting and canvassing, finding the business, day in, day out, looking for it, grassroots, street marketing, walking business to business, knocking on doors, and I mean business doors. You go into a supermarket, today is my supermarket day. And also it's strategically designed. You have to actually be smart about this. And there's a whole concept of SMART objectives, specific, measurable, action oriented, that's kind of like, result driven and time bound. So these are like, concepts that you have to break down, and then as you follow through these things, in your strategy and your planning, you will be able to succeed. So your success formula has to be multifaceted. You have different levels and angles that you have to apply. First, you got to look at your audience. As we said, you prepare yourself and all that good stuff, great. But now also when you're going out there, like, you have to have a plan. And your master plan on a week-to-week basis and a day-to-day basis should be that you have to diversify your schedule. Half day to do some prospecting and canvassing, half day to actually do your appointments, because you're going to meet all these people. You got to have time to meet with them and present to them. So you need to do that. But also you have to keep building your structure and your referral sources and sensors of influence day in, day out, or week in, week out. So the more you build in these referral channels, the more you start getting more, referrals. And the more referrals you get, the more you actually just spend more time doing your, approach and enrolling people. But again, you do not want to stop, because if you stop, you basically there is an opportunity that you might just lose track and then therefore have to start again. You don't start. So you build and compound and tack on, the sources and resources over and over. So basically it's simple. An example would be, every Monday morning, I'm going to see doctors. Every afternoon, Tuesdays, I'm going to go see supermarkets. Every Wednesday morning, I'm going to do, soup kitchens, food pantries, and maybe like any religious organizations. Fridays, I'm going to go to senior centers and actually talk to the senior centers to actually set up events and build events and generate those, and then I'll give them to my events team, and they can actually execute and develop those events for me, and ultimately go present and do a great thing for them, for those attendees. So that's just an example, but that's how you play it. So that's actually very specific. It's measurable, because and then measurable also here is like, what is my objective? How many events I'm going to go and generate from this? How many days I would like to be at this particular senior center? How many days I want to be setting up at this, supermarket? Those are all opportunities. If I go to providers, well, what is the objective, from these providers? There are very, very strict rules in marketing with providers or even pharmacies. So you need to know exactly what those are and be able to set a good plan that is actually ethical, that is also compliant, and that is resourceful, and yet that's going to give you the results you want. So again, that's just to give you a strategy as to what it is, and this is just in the world of insurance and Medicare, but these are similar concepts that you would do for anything. Even when, again, real estate, we can talk about other types of sales, it's the same concept. You want to plan your week, and you want to allow time to actually meet with your customers, but you also want to allow time to be able to do other things. Networking is great. Even as you go higher in levels, we always need to mingle and actually meet other people, organization. There's a lot of business, after hours, there's breakfast, presentations, chamber of commerces. The more you're out there, the more you're actually going to spread the word about what you have. And that's actually building your business, your bottom line, your actually crowds, your audiences. And, again, leads, great. They come in, it's an appointment, you go and set them. Lead comes in, you check it out, qualified, you go meet. That's great. But that volume will always be less, because here's what happens. It's costly, and the companies are not just going to keep paying you, money just to go and close things. They can do that over the phone, So when you hire people, when you are an actual agent where you actually are selling, you're not going to always rely on somebody to feed you. You want to be able to feed yourselves, just to plainly state it. Okay, it's I can teach somebody how to fish, or I can just give them the fish. They'd probably be easier to just give them the food, right? No. You want to teach folks to actually fish. This is teaching how to fish. You want to go out there and find the business for yourself. It's not hard, and again, I said this the last time, the marketplace for senior markets is not going to be like, short change anytime soon. We all going to turn, if we live long enough, we're all going to turn 65 and beyond. And there are people turning 65 every day. So guess what? And there are people that may also be qualified for Medicare that might not even be 65, because, as I said, there are qualifiers for people that may be younger, but still may be eligible for a Medicare product. And that's just on the Medicare side. And there's other products in the insurance world. If you're working in the business, units or commercial side of things, well, you have businesses, small business, large businesses, medium-sized businesses. People also are in the open market that don't have insurance because they are self-employed. They're always looking for policies. If you are selling, the ACA products, guess what? You are selling individuals and families. At the end of the day, whatever you're selling, it's still a sales transaction. It still have to be Find the customers, prospect canvas, find them. You have to do that. And to do that, you have to develop your territory, you have to develop your strategy, you have to develop the centers of influence and referral bases and places where you're going to get your, business traffic. And without that, you will be actually just spinning wheels and standing there, and the days are going to go fast. And before you know it, you're going to be stressed and you're not going to be able to perform, and you probably will start cutting corners, and you're probably going to fall into a non-compliant situation and even lose your license for that matter. Not an option, not something you want to do. So again, prior planning prevents performance, as my dear friend says, and structuring things, have a smart objective strategy, build your territory, diversify your approach, make sure you actually know your audience and where they are, do your homework. Now, again, you can create opportunities, not just to go to them, but create opportunities where people come to you. And then again, we're talking about seminars and stuff, but an example of things that I've created, and done before is, opportunities at, festivals and fairs and things like that. There's no street festival. You might be able to create your own street festival with the Parks Department, with the, the police department, with the local, bid, with your elected officials. You could create an opportunity just like that, make an event happen. And then guess what? Gather people. You can work with your local providers, and, that's a great opportunity, because providers, do love to actually, participate in events and do presentations about diabetes, blood pressure. In these days, it's a little hard. And again, I'm not talking specifically for this season. We're all going through this tough time with the coronavirus, and people are very, very leery about going outside of their homes. And we're not talking about gatherings and events today. And literally right now, a lot of sales are going to be done through phone sales and things like that, and also just do online sales and enrollments. But this is going to be a wave. It's going to go. We're talking about sales in general, and eventually everything goes back to normal, and we all going to be out there in the field, talking to people one-on-one and doing presentations. But when we get to that point, and sales is sales, and that's exactly what it's going to be. You go back to the rules, and these are the things you do. Create opportunities if you have to. You can generate traffic. Let's say you can work with the local mall and maybe create a mall walker program. And again, I'm sharing strategies that I've used, and these are not secrets. People have done them. I've done a lot of those things. I've created some of those things back in the days, and still applied some of the first basis, in the marketplace, today that actually is used by the industry. So I can tell you for a fact these things work. And you will generate. And the other thing is, while you're out there, you have competition as well. So maybe you have to look at what is your competition doing, what's working for them, what's not doing for them. And I'm not talking competition just other carriers or other health plans or the insurers, but also other agents just like you, or other agencies. What are they doing? Maybe you can mimic them. Maybe you can learn from their lessons and create something different. But the idea is you have to be open to all your surroundings. Everything is a go as long as it's compliant, legal, and ethical. So you have to look at those opportunities. You have to be focused. You have to be really organized, and you focus on these opportunities, and then you break it down to a science to yourself. Have a plan. Don't just stand there and wait, I'm going to wing it today, see what's going to happen. No. Also, you have to have targets for your own self. We talked about, under the series of the quote, and we talked about dreaming and following your goals. You want to follow your goal. This is actually not this is part of your life, and it's those little goals, daily goals, that are going to get you to your monthly goal, weekly goal, ultimately your personal goal, and ultimately your business goal. Because if you want to grow, you might not everybody that is a salesperson can be, qualified for leadership and management, because that's one thing. And we have separate series that we're going to talk about: management, leadership, boss, this, that, career path, all that. That's a different topic. But maybe that's something you want. That's something you're looking towards to. But guess what? If your performance, is not good, nobody's going to actually give you a shot at the other way. So your performance has to be good. Then they'll look at your, eligibility for the other roles that you might be interested in, and your merits, whether you actually qualify or not. But if you fail your own, target in your job description, that's the end right there. So we need to make sure that those goals are there. But those goals have to be set. So I'll give you a true example. Back in the days when I started first sales, in the Medicare, and again, this is past, the Medicaid phase, CHIP and other, and real estate and all that. But when I got to it, we used to actually literally wake up in the morning. Well, before you wake up in the morning, actually, you have to have a plan. Like I said, the whole week is set. You have your plan. You know exactly where you're going, things like that. And you have it diversified. I have my senior, centers appointments. I have my elected official appointments. I have my faith-based organization appointments, my my street time, my tabletop time, and all that stuff was designed, my appointment time. So that's all it said. But then as you did that, you have to set up a goal. How am I going to work today? Well, first of all, you cannot be lazy. That's the other thing. If you're canvassing and prospecting, you have to actually know that you want to be out there. How many business I'm going to hit today? So goals. Fictive goals that you're going to do. And you're not going to walk home. You're not going to go back home until you meet that goal. And sometimes it's going to take a few phone calls. Sometimes it's going to take you walking into that door, knocking on the door. We hear about this world. The other day I talked about gatekeeper in the MCO world, which is the provider of the primary care. And that's a different, analogy or a different concept. I'm talking about gatekeeper here in the sales sense of it, that, you cannot get past the gatekeeper to get to the actual decision maker. And, you call the office of somewhere and the secretary or the receptionist is not getting you to where you need to be. That's a problem. So how do you do it? You walk in there. You come in, here's my card, I'd like to meet with this person, blah, blah, blah. And you introduce yourself, show them what the value is, show them and a lot of times when you're there in person, it's very difficult to actually reject you as opposed to do it on the phone. It's very easy to actually hang up on you on the phone, but it's very difficult to actually hang up on you face to face. They might tell you he's not here, she's not here, busy, she's busy, but whatever it is, you have a better shot at it that way. And you have to be persistent. Sometimes being a nuisance in sales, is very common. People think like, oh, weird, but you have to be, again, persistent. We said that when we talked about goals. Consistent, persistent. I mean, you don't give up. No giving up. No pain, no gain. You have to have some pain because you have to go out there over and over, and that's when you gain. And also, there's a will, there's a way. You want it bad, you're gonna make it happen. But you go out there and get it done. But you don't sit back and say, oh man, I am having issues. I can't get this done. I cannot make it happen. Every time I called, find a way. Find a way. There is LinkedIn now. There is other, means that you can actually send a message to someone. And, I get a lot of LinkedIn stuff, every day. And people requesting opportunities to me. I'd like to connect with you. Would you like to talk? Let's talk 15 minutes. Sometimes I ask them very easy, like, what is your offering? Send me something. If I like it, we'll set up time. Obviously everybody's time is valuable. So we need to be, conscious about that. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to get in front of those decision makers to get you in front, to whatever the audience is. So if you're going to senior center, your core and focus should be on that director of that center. And you might talk to somebody else that is not that director and they might give it a run around for whatever reason. You want to make sure you actually get somehow to see that person. And maybe it will get through another source. Maybe another person knows that director that's going to get you. Sometimes you want to meet a doctor, but you can't get to the doctor because, no one is allowing you to do this. Maybe someone else has the connection with the doctor. Your provider relation, representative in your health plan may have that connection. And you should work actually with those folks to help you, coordinate, and access the actual providers, because it is, a teamwork, obviously, in any operation. And you would do sometimes collaborate with internal departments within the insurance space and or the MCO space. And then those folks actually can open the doors for you. You have an events team, if you do, guess what? Their role is also to open up. You have a community relations team. They actually engage with the community and open doors for you. You have to leverage those things. And so it's important to use all the different things and the resources and assets that you have access to actually succeed and generate the business. So prospecting, canvassing, it doesn't stop, it continues. Okay, now you open up a lot of places, great business, but does it stop there? No. Again, you keep more. And also territories. Sometimes you're limited to a territory, sometimes you're not, And I've always, even as in the management, space in the sales end, what I always done, I don't like to tie in people with territories, but I tie them with opportunities. So for example, there are things that are assigned, and therefore these are company generate stuff. So therefore you get assigned to. But anything beyond that, I'll tell everybody, if you can open a door, it's yours. And, even if it's a different territory, then, because you opened it up, you can have somebody from that territory, shadow with you, work with you as a partner. But the idea is, since you opened up, that the other guys in the territory didn't do it, you did it. So therefore you get an opportunity. That's just a strategy that I use in terms of management style and opening the opportunities for people that are willing to get the next step and get, to the next level. But the idea is, I don't have to tell you that as a manager or as a leader. If you are actually, a true salesman person, or, a lady in sales, your job is to canvas prospect, and it is your business. That's the other thing. Anybody, works for themselves. It doesn't matter who you work with, who you work for, what company you work for, what title you have. Technically everybody, when I ask this question in interviews, the answer is like, well, who you work for? Well, what are you working about, for? Well, I work for my family. I need to pay bills, blah, blah, blah. But that's kind of what it is, right? We all work to survive, to live, right? And, at whatever level we want of style that we'd like to establish for ourselves, you still work for that style. You still work for your family, for your kids, your significant other, whoever it is, but you work for yourselves primarily. But you're working with the company, with the company's resources, with the expectations of the company, and use the company as your financial institution that helps you, your operations, but at the end of the day, it is still your business. And if you don't invest in your business, you're never going to succeed. Your business is your thing. Again, I had the example when I talked about the quote and the dream, when I started this particular, station, it was my thing. It's my little goal. It's my little, favorite, thing that I wanted to actually establish. And guess what? I had to invest in it, and it is my business to do it. I sit here and do this, whether I get subscribers or not. That's not my objective. My objective is to have enough information out there so people can benefit from it, and that is my mission. And so, but it is my business to actually deliver. So I'm always looking at better ways to improve this. And this is just a simple example. But in the sales world, that's what you do. It's your business. You run your operation. You're the sales. You're the actual strategist. You're the planner. Whatever you do is your plan. Now, of course, sometimes you get red tape, some management, that may not be able to support that because they don't understand it, or maybe they have rigid rules, and sometimes that is not the best way to operate, right? So it depends on the environment, but at the end of the day, you can still work with it. And I don't know of any management that's not going to want you to succeed, because at the end of the day, it's their success. If you do good, they're going to be doing good. So as long as they understand that you're not cutting corners, that you're working and you're actually doing what you have to do and your results show, you will be there. You will get to that level. And that's all it takes. You have to be out there, canvass it, prospect every day. Doesn't stop. While you're doing business, you build the next business. That's future business. There's always, you have to look at what's the next day is going to look like. What's the next, back in the days, I had a director. It's a very, fun story. We had a director that, very, very smart tactic she used. And what it was is that we used to have what we called Fax Lightning Day. And it's Fax Lightning Day. And very simple. Back in days we used faxes. So for those that are watching this, this is like predating, the modern technology and all the new apps and stuff. We didn't have apps. And so we had faxes at home. We worked independently as representatives and in a company in New York. And so the idea was that randomly, the director will actually pick up the phone at the end, in those days they'll do like a phone blast. And, everyone on that directory will get a blast. And then we don't know when that blast is going to take place. We just know that it's going to happen. And it happens in the middle of the night. And so basically, you wake up as early as you can and you get this message that says, today is Fax Lightning Day. And what it means is that the first application that will be submitted in that day, you get $50. There was a quick bonus, right? And this was back in the days. And so, of course, back in the days, $50, it's still $50 even today. And, it's competitive, right? So, but now think about this. You don't know what day it would be, and it's actually in the middle of the night, and the first application has to be in. So how do you determine all these things? Well, the only way to do it is to have everything lined up in advance. So every day we had early appointments, which means you have to prospect in advance, you have to set up appointments in advance, you have clients set in and appointments set, and then ultimately when that call comes, you're always ready. You're out there making. So by 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and seniors, are very early risers. So guess what? It works beneficially to everybody. You're never going to run out of that early, type of opportunity. People were available to us. We were able to enroll people and help them in the plans that we had to offer then. And they were like, when I talked to MCO back in the days, there were only a few plans that were actually into this world of the Medicare managed care. But, we were able to actually produce these enrollments, and applications in. So the story here is that, again, we were planning in advance. We had our sources and resources working for us. So we always had appointments scheduled in advance. And so it didn't matter when that that call came, we always had the opportunity. You're going to wake up, and that's the other thing. You don't wake up at 11 and expect that the day is going to be yours. You wake up early, right, to make it happen. You go in, you do what you have to do, you set a daily goal, and by the end of the day, you hit that target, you're happy. Now, again, that's the other thing. Strategically, you have to plan your whole month as not only just your week, because you have to also work around other people's business schedules. So if you are working with organizations, clergy, elected officials, whatever, they have a very busy schedule. It is part of your prospecting here to make sure that you understand those rules and you actually build this stuff in advance and continuously work with all these agencies. And every agency out there, every type of business can be an opportunity for us. Okay, and you may not think about it. And we have providers that we work with. And a lot of times when we talk about providers, we talk about doctors. But there's dentists, there's, optometrists, there's all kind of ancillary services, laboratories, there's other places that people interact with in the health field and they need coverage for. And maybe if they actually participate in the network, that's an opportunity for you to actually work with them. And they might have clients that their products are not good, or the insurance coverage is not healthy enough for them, or it doesn't cover certain things than yours does, and maybe they want you to actually kind of assist these people and help them out. So again, there are rules about those things and how to do it compliantly, but we'll talk again about those rules later. But the fact of the matter is, all opportunities are go, as long as, again, ethical, legal, and they're within your compliant world. That's it. And you're helping people. As your mission, you'll be able to do it. So again, once you do all this and you develop your territory, you develop your referral sources, and you continuously replenish those opportunities, and you're multiplying the sources of your business, and you're not relying on one particular channel for your to feed you. Okay, you have multiple eggs in multiple baskets. So this one gives you a couple here, this one's a couple here, this one's a couple here, and it's all go. At the end, they all add up. Okay, if right now we give you pennies from all over, like from different banks, at the end of the day, you might have a few dollars, that come in. Or if somebody gives you, a penny here, a penny there, and you have 10 people that giving you a few pennies here and there, it's going to add up. It's maybe a dumb example, but at the end of the day, it's that kind of concept. It's, don't actually undermine those little sources, onesies and twosies, but they add up. But the more you build, that one becomes two, that two multiplies, and doubles and triples and quadruples, and that's how you have to look at it. And that's the only way for you to succeed, and this is beyond, this is just before you even get started, and we'll talk about now when you actually meet people, how you actually get their attention, how to get them to really buy you as a person, you as a brand, and then take it from the next step. And then we'll talk about the actual presentations, what to do, what not to do, how to do it right, and break it down to the science that it is, and then ultimately get you to a close, and then what the next steps will be. So again, many sessions to come. Some of these things will come back to some as we bring in more, experts in this particular field, or in sales in general. We'll talk about that now. Again, I'm going to just skip up, a little bit from the health piece to just sales in general. Again, whatever I stated right now, I try to keep it within the health just to keep the theme of our channel. But really, sales is sales. And the reason I do that is because I don't want people to think, well, you're a sales guy, always going to focus on sales. The purpose of this channel is really to bring, the health industry and how it operates. And each chapter or each series has its own little angle and theme, but they all kind of tie in back and forth, So we will be touching on some items over and over between the different, series, but each one of them has its own confined, objective. But the idea is, if you're selling real estate, it's the same thing. You're prospecting, you need to find people. Like back in the days when I used to teach, the real estate courses, and the sales trainings for the real estate agents, what I used to tell them is very simple. And in New York, the New York Times had classified sections, and this was before the digital, before all this stuff. And that particular piece of the paper used to come out on Thursdays. And so part of the training is I tell people, well, listen, if you want to be the first one to actually be able to call those, for sale by owner or FSBOs, you need to get that classified the first thing. Guess what? You need to have friends in the news desk, well, not in the news kiosks. And those folks actually get those things like 4 a.m. on a Thursday or Wednesday night, you'll get those. Anyways, if they can save you a copy, you'll be the first one to make that phone call. And it gives you an advantage over the one person that's going to get that on Sunday, because you had 4 days windows to reach out to everybody and, sell the proposition while you want to be meeting with them first. If they allow you to get in, that's the objective. you generate business, then ultimately you want to be in front of them. If you're in front of them, it's half of the deal. The rest is how you convince them that your product is the right product, if you have the right product, of course. If you don't, then you might have to walk away. But typically in the sales world of real estate, you want to actually access them so you can get the inventory. And that's what your product is. So to get that inventory is crucial to actually be the first one and be the convincing one to get that, exclusive, right to sell. But again, I'm not going to talk about real estate, but the idea is whatever industry you're in, whatever sales, if you're going to do business to business sales, same thing. It's gatekeeper. You got to get that gatekeeper out or get straight to the actual source, make that appointment. You got to get in there. I have another story. One of the agents I had back in the days, very, very, very persistent and an aggressive person, got interviewed through the different phases, initial stages, and she made that first, cut with managers, and then she had to come to me as the director at the time. And but by the time she interviewed to the time to get to me, I was busy. There's other things. We were involved in a lot of things in that phase. And all I get is few phone calls, literally, the person was persistent. Listen, how come that you do not want to meet with me and blah, blah, blah. And she was really adamant about, to meet with me in person because that, she interviewed, everything went well. She wanted to know good or bad, but she wanted to actually meet with me direct. That in itself gave me, a very great opportunity to meet with this person. I wanted to meet this person because if that person can do that with me, that person can do that with any gatekeeper out there. She would be able to open, the doors because she would not be stopped by anybody. And she will go to the source and find out for herself or yourself if, and get the actual result that you want. At that point, whether I give the job or not is irrelevant, but you actually got in front of the decision maker. Now, but me, it helped me make that decision, and that was what made me help the decision to bring that person on board. And I say this, that person was actually my top agent for a long time, as long as that person was actually working in the company. So, fact of the matter is, if you are, that kind of, persistent, persuasive, aggressive, and positive aggressive here, and really determined to get somewhere, you'll get there. So if you canvassing prospecting, those are, traits that you want to have. You want to build those skills to be able to get it. And don't be intimidated by the no. Again, the rule in sales, it says the salesmanship begins when the customer says no. Well, the gatekeeper here, well, the decision maker is a customer too, because they're the ones, they're the type of customer that's going to get you in front of the audience and your true customers. But unless you get to them, you're not going to get in front of other people. So that's the first objective. That's who you want to go to, and that's who you prospect for. And you get those, as many of those to open doors for you. And the more doors for you, the more success you do. If you're in the consulting world, similar concept. The more people you network with, the more you share your services with, the more you have certain key people that actually can open doors for you and know who these people are. So when you have something, for example, if you're in sales, you want to talk to someone that knows sales. If you're in operations, you want to talk to someone that's in operations. If you want to talk about somebody that knows really, the regulations and the more, the marketing guidelines, whatever, maybe I need to talk to someone with CMS or someone that actually specializes in the compliance world, in at least in our context here. But the idea is you want to go to the source that's going to open the doors for that particular, venue or opportunity that you're looking for. So that's really the key. So again, prospecting, it ties right into preparation and getting prepped for your activities, organizing yourself, territory management, strategy, design, have all that stuff in place. And then when you have all that stuff in place and you do it exactly by the book, and that's the other thing, you cannot just design it and just skip, steps. You have to take the steps. And yes, in the beginning, it's very brutal because it's learning to do something in a very, very, methodical way, and you have to go step by step. But once you do it enough, it becomes routine. It's not going to bother you. But if you skip things, you might not get the same effect. You want to do it right. And then once you do it, it becomes an art, and your style is going to kick in, and you'll be just as good as you expect to be, and you'll get the results you want. And your results will actually determine whether you did the right thing or not. If you find in a lot of gaps and you're not able to get in, well, maybe there's something. And then that's when you go back to your management team and your mentors and see if they can help you. One of the things that I do, and this is just in general in terms of strategy and training and from a leader's perspective, is developing the success formulas for the teams and give them the assigned tactics and stuff and train them on how to work and leverage them. So this way they don't have to really like scramble. But if that's not available, it's, and the reason I did that is because I found that a lot of people don't have they can be great salespeople, but they're just not prospectors. And if you're not a prospector, you're not going to be able to find the business, and therefore you might fail. Yet you have the skills to be a good salesperson and be able to present. Some people are great presenters. Some people are great closers. They can handle all the objections in the world. They're not shy, but they can't find the business. They cannot actually open the doors. So again, as a leader in sales also, and this is not about leadership and sales, but these are things that we look for. And sometimes you help your team to get there. But at the end of the day, as an individual, you need to also evaluate yourself, what your strengths are and weaknesses, and then you work on those weaknesses with anybody that can help you, get better. And so if it means your management team is going to be there, your director, your VP, your manager, whoever is actually working with you, sometimes a colleague can help you. And that's the other thing I recommend all the time, is that work with a friend, a colleague. Teaming up with a colleague is not a bad thing. We're in salespeople, we are very competitive. We also are results driven. We love to actually compete. That's great. But sometimes we don't have to always compete. We can have an actual partner, and then we compete against the rest of them. but you and that partner can work together. And this worked for me, tremendously over the years, whether I was as a rep, as an agent, or as a director. It helped. Even as a VP, it helped. The idea is working as a team is a key thing. So again, we'll talk about teamwork and team collaboration and partnerships and stuff like that at later, a series. But really, it's also part of it. So if you are maybe weak, you have a weak, ability to actually prospect yourself, team up with someone that has that strength, and maybe they don't have the strength to actually close or maybe do objection. So you guys can, kind of benefit each other and balance each other and help each other and complement each other to get the results. And both of you now win, not just one. And that's the other thing. Sometimes if we're too selfish, we may lose the whole thing. Work, as a team, you'll win. With a team, you always win. And whether you're a leader, whether you're just, an individual contributor, at the end of the day, you will actually, if you work with others in unity, there's strength. That's actually, I think, the motto of Brooklyn. So, and it's a known, motto. But the idea is, if you do it that way, you can always get better, right? None of us are better than one of us, all right? So, or all of us rather. None of us is better than all of us. So really that's the same concept. Okay, so that means if you are working as a team, you'll get more results. But again, that's okay. And there are solo and lone, what do you call them? People that work on their solo and they don't like to work with others, and that's okay too. If it works for them, great. We don't force anyone, and I'm not suggesting that you want to work one with the other. But if it's going to contribute to your success, use it. If it's not, and you don't need the additional assistance, fine. But at the end of the day, we all need some sort of assistance, even if it means just other people opening doors. And like I said, it doesn't have to be your teammate that is competing against you, who's going to go head to head, and toe to toe. No, maybe it's somebody that is within the team in a different department that has the resources, the access, and stuff. And again, you got to leverage. I said earlier, you can prospect whatever you play or pray. Well, if you go to any temple type of of worship, there are congregations out there that you can actually benefit from. So whatever your practice is, if you're Muslim, it's Fridays. If you're Jewish, it's Saturdays. If you're Catholic or Christian, it's Sundays. There's churches, there's temples. If you're a Buddhist, whatever your belief is, there are temples, there are congregations that have similarities that you might be able to share. If you have a different language that you speak, maybe an audience within that particular market can be a better idea for you. We've had agents that focus in specific ethnic market, and they do just great. They know the culture, they know the language, they can interact better, and they do just phenomenal in their particular territories. They don't even have to go back. Some people are specialized, what I call special works and tactics, and they work literally with specific marketing type of opportunities. And so, for example, they love to work with providers. They don't have to work anything else. Some people love to work in those community outreach vehicles. That's all they do day in, day out. They go, they sit at that RV, and they work the community. All right. Some people are good at pharmacies. Some people are good at prospecting, and some people are good at presenting and do seminars day in, day out. They walk, they got 100 people in front of them, they knock a presentation, they get few members that are few prospects, and they close a couple every day. Again, whatever you see your niches, that's going to help you prospect the right way and get the actual audience that you need, so you can present your product That's the advice. So there is no one, way to do this. There's multiple ways, and to each his own. You find what's in it for you, how you can make it work for you. And if you follow all these, the advice I just gave today, some of you may know, some of it may not. Sometimes it's just good to remind people of these things, because sometimes we get busy and kind of forget ourselves because we do things, on a day-to-day basis, and we kind of like get a little, involved. And so sometimes it's just taking a step back and just reset and, focus again, and you can get better success and results. So that being said, I think I will conclude today's session, and to be continued. At the next one, we'll talk more about, now you have your audience. How do you present, how do you build your brand, and how you get them to see you? And then we'll go from there to, the skills and the tactics of presentation, and how to really break down the actual benefits and so on and so forth, how to handle objections, how to try closes, open-ended questions, and so on and so forth, how to tie in, how to close, and ultimately, what you ask for the follow-up. So again, we'll go through these things, and each one of those will have, a very entertaining aspect, hopefully. Once again, Hurricane H here. The iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, and I hope this was enlightening and educating, and that is the mission of our shows. And if you like what you see or you hear, or rather what you hear, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube, or you just follow us on the website, YouTube, on Twitter. And again, send suggestions if you have any questions. Be more than happy to assist. And again, look forward to the next, there will be a few interesting reports that will be coming in next week. And, just stay tuned to the next shows, and hope you enjoy. Once again, Hurricane H here. And thank you for watching. Have a great night. Bye-bye.